My name's Georgia Foster, and I'm known as the self-esteem expert. I help people all over the world feel really good about themselves, to inspire them. And I'm going to show you some incredible resources, some top tips to help you move out of that pleaser situation. The fact is, being a pleaser has some beautiful qualities, because pleasers are a little bit like a psychic, right? They're very good at listening to other people's problems. They're very good at picking up on other people's, vulnerabilities and anxieties. And they're also very good at nurturing others, but sometimes to the detriment of their own sense of self-worth. Now, I have a joke about my business life being a therapist and helping people improve their quality of life. I started to realize that with my clients, of course, it was about pleasing them. And that's why I'm known as a self-esteem expert, and I have a podcast. My channel is all about supporting and sharing great ways to feel better about you. And being a pleaser personality trait, it can get you into some tricky situations. It's very attractive to a lot of people, but the problem is, and it is a big problem, is pleasers tend to attract critical, judgmental people. Because judgmental people love having a pleaser in their lives, because a pleaser lets them get away with a lot of bad behavior. And all of the years I've been helping people improve their sense of self-worth. I have a great program called Believing in You. Oh, it's just so important to really improve that assertive you that's the opposite to the pleaser. And I want you to really think about, if you know that you're a pleaser, like I'm a pleaser, I had to really train myself out of a lot of situations. I used to attract horrific men, right? I constantly thought, you know what? I'm the problem. I was always running myself ragged, looking after everybody else, making sure everybody had enough food at the table. I got myself into debt because I felt like I had to look after so many people. I don't do that anymore. And I want you to know that it's not you. There's something in your life where you felt you needed to be that person, but it's not you. It's a particular personality trait. There is the opposite, which is that intuitive person that knows, hang on a minute, I really do need to say no because I'm just going to feel like a bit used, right? In fact, I was going to write a book once called I Used to Be a Doormat, because I had people who walked all over me. And my mother used to say to me, you know what? Why did you say yes? I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then one day my father said something to me which was really interesting. He said, whenever I ask you, are you okay? You always say, yeah, I'm fine. But he said, I know you're not. And he was right. So one of the most important things as a pleaser is to start to share what you're feeling. Don't be scared of rejection. If you get rejected, that is just a classic sign that the relationship dynamic was very one-sided and not good for your sense of self-worth. It's so important to communicate your feelings. It's absolutely acceptable to expose your vulnerabilities with the right people, of course. But if you don't know how to tell people what you're feeling, they can't be mind readers. They've got enough going on in their lives, right? I want you to know that being able to share your vulnerabilities is really important sometimes. And another thing is, I used to practice this a lot, and I'd love you to practice this as well, is often, it's a bit like you go into a shop and you get the wrong change, or, somebody says something, they ask you to do something, right? And you go silent because you really, really want to say no, but you have this terrible pull that you're going to say yes because you need to please them. I want you to pause, and I want you to think about how to say the word no. Really think about it. Now, sometimes, I'm not saying everybody should lie, but sometimes little white lies, while you get your confidence up, if you are that pleaser personality, say no, I've got a big meeting tomorrow. I can't have another drink. I can't do that tonight because I've got to go home to call my mother, right? Just bring in opportunities to really expand the truth a little bit so that you can start to nurture yourself, because pleasers need a little bit of practice. And the more practice you have at saying the word no in a really lovely way, because, often when you say no for the first time, the person you're saying no to might think, oh, hang on a minute, this doesn't feel right. I had a client of mine many years ago, and she had a mum at the school next door to her with children very similar ages. And the mother, the neighbour, was in a really unhappy marriage. And she'd fallen in love with the builder who'd been doing the renovations in the house. Anyway, long story short, over a few months, while the neighbour's husband was away, this builder would sneak into the house, and she would say to my client, would you look after my children? And it was going on and on and on, to the point that sometimes she'd feed the kids, she'd do the homework with them, and she felt like she had adopted these children. And she was getting to the point she was feeling really, really used. Now, I said to my client, this is a really good example of the fact that you haven't been able to say no, that you don't have these boundaries. And boundaries are important. And I said to her, what you need to say in the right tone of voice, that you know what, I'm getting a bit concerned about how much time I'm looking after your kids. I'm really happy that you've found somebody. Whatever happens is your business. But sometimes I just need to keep my family to myself and be more available for my own children. Okay? Now, that neighbor never spoke to her again. And I said to her, you know what? That person was just using you. An emotionally intelligent person would have said, do you know what? I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I got so involved. I'm really, really apologetic. But the fact is that there are people all over the planet who are just, I call it emotional vampires. They want to suck you in, and they spot a pleaser a mile away, okay? So if you resonate with anything that I'm talking about, I want you to know that being a people pleaser doesn't get you anywhere. Being more assertive and proactive does. Being true to you and being authentic to you is the most important thing. And I want you to know that. I have a great program called Believing in You, which is so inspiring, about bringing that charismatic you to look after you, to be more assertive and proactive, to have your needs met, to have your voice heard. That's really important because you are important. So if you know that you need to curb your pleasing and be more assertive and more intuitive, to be more out there in the world, to be authentic to what your goals are rather than meeting the needs of everybody else all of the time, then I'm sure you're going to absolutely love the program. So I'm Georgia Foster. Thank you for joining me, watching again. And I want you to know that I have some amazing more top tips for you as a pleaser and anything else. When it comes to a sense of self-worth, I'd love you to subscribe to my podcast, to my channel. Thank you.